Hey everyone, it's the Manga Viewer, and today we'll be talking about what will happen in My Hero Academia chapter 326. So without further ado, let's get on. I want to remind you this is a spoiler video, so if you're not caught up with the manga, proceed with your own caution, you have been warned. And if you enjoy my content, feel free to thumbs up this video, or join the channel, both is a good option. Alright, let's kick off. But before I get onto the theories and what's going to happen, I really want to point out a couple of important details that happened in this chapter that I think a lot of you have missed. And also there is an important news that just came to me that the chapter that was supposed to come out tomorrow has taken a sudden break. I will talk more about that and why this could have happened at the end of the video, so be sure to stick around. Alright. So the details that I want to point out is merely like in the last chapter and this chapter. And I feel like Horikoshi Sensei is trying to do a really smart move by settling the final battle between each character. If you actually look at the last chapter, when Uraraka was talking, there was a sudden flashback of Toga's face, right? And when you look at this chapter, when Todoroki talked about Dabi, there was a sudden flashback of Dabi as well, indicating that in the final battle, Toga will be facing Uraraka, and Todoroki will be facing Dabi. So I think Horikoshi Sensei is trying to settle those final battles in a way that kind of gives you a hint, but in the same time keeps you excited, so that was a really nice move. Also, at the end of this chapter, I think it was the most, or one of the most important things, just before All Might, Aizawa was talking with Principal Nezu, and they said that there's a little bit of hope that Shirakumo might get saved and get back to himself. So maybe in the final battle, Kurogiri will be facing Aizawa, maybe Aizawa will let him break out of his own body, and maybe be able to save him again. And in the final panels of this chapter, let's say the final battle, I think it was the most important thing in this chapter so far. The chapter has been great, and I feel in those past chapters, Horikoshi kind of took the cliff from way too up to kind of make it calm down a bit, since everything was going on crazy. So I think he wanted to make the audience that is reading My Hero Academia to feel oh, it's okay now, the chapter is calming down now, and then pick it up again with the sudden plot twists and all of that. So I think that's a really nice and great move to have. It's kind of you're watching a movie and it's full of action and you're keeping with it with everything, and then it takes a sudden break, or let's say a calm pace or something, so you kind of relax for a bit and then pick up again. So that's a really nice thing that I thought of and I wanted to share it with you guys. So what we want to talk about is what's going to happen, so let's start by it. In the final panel, we see All Might turning his back from UA and going back. Actually, in the middle of the chapter when they were talking about One for All and how it connects everyone, we saw a panel of All Might looking at UA. And then he turned his back and walked away. Probably, there's a couple of possibilities that I want to share with you guys. There's two important possibilities. The first one is that this is the real All Might, and he did what he did because of his talk with Stain. I will talk more about that later. But the other possibility is that that's not actually All Might. That might be, for example, Toga, or an imposter or something. So there's two important ways that can go with this. So I feel that's really important to know. Also, there is a really dangerous theory that I feel we should pay attention to. And is that Twice is dead, as we all know. However, he might actually got taken by the League of Villains or someone like that, and they made him into a Nomu, which would be a really interesting theory to see, because now they can control him 100% as they want. Similar to Shirakumo and how they turned him into Kurogiri. So the same thing could happen with Twice, except he will be much more powerful. So what am I thinking about this? Let's say that this is the real All Might and he turned his back on UA. What could this mean? What could this indicate? Well, we know for sure that Stain and All Might had a talk after Midoriya left, and at the same time, they probably haven't had a talk at all. Maybe after Midoriya left All Might kind of thought back on his past life and what he did and all of that, and he remembered Night Eye talk and all of that, and maybe just like walked away towards the UA school, and after he learned Midoriya is there, he wanted to go there but stopped and said maybe like I'm no use of Deku anymore. Like class 1A is better to him to give him like advices and everything, and I'm not, good enough for him right now. I think that would be like a really interesting possibility, and I feel like Horikoshi Sensei will go with that, since like we see All Might and we kind of like wonder about his character arc and character development. We kind of like see him from this #1 hero that everyone is striving to look up to, and he's like the most powerful person on the earth in My Hero Academia. So, and seeing him like this, it definitely hurts him from the inside to be able not to do anything so far. So I feel like he like wanted to go to UA and talk with Midoriya, but he turned back and felt like maybe I shouldn't do this, maybe I should do something else. So what could this be? Let's say All Might and Stain had a talk, and they probably like teamed up or wanted to make like a secret, team up sort of thing, since Stain doesn't acknowledge any heroes except like for Deku maybe, and Lida and all of those. So he made like a secret team up with All Might, since we saw like back in the, in the Sniper arc, where Deku faced off against a Sniper, we saw All Might holding a bag. So that bag might indicate some sort of a technical suit that will help All Might fight in the future. There is also a little bit dangerous theory that I feel like it can happen, and I really don't want it to happen, but it's, it's still a theory, so it's cool to think about, is that All Might himself will go with Stain to kind of like find the League of Villains, or they might have already find like where they are, and they kind of like want to go as like a sacrifice or like as a stealth mission, both Stain and All Might, so that none of the heroes could get hurt, and they might like get taken hostage or something like that, and that would be like pretty scary to think about, because there have been a lot of theories that All Might might get turned into a Nomu or something, and Deku and Bakugo will have to fight against him. That's, a really okay theory, but I honestly don't want this to happen, so just keep this in mind. And, I feel like All Might could definitely do this, like he could definitely turn his back on UA and just like leave, and like no one will be able to see him anymore. That's kind of like the thing that I'm really thinking about. Here is another thing that actually could happen, and that if like the Horikoshi decided to go with the safe way, let's say he wants Deku to rest, he doesn't want anyone to get hurt so far, he wants to keep the League of Villains, getting stronger by themselves, or like he doesn't want to show a lot of information about them, and another like sort of a time skip will happen. And in that time skip, maybe All Might will have, a secret move or some sort of a secret ability or something. Because if we think about it, like All Might was training before even like this League of Villain, attack war arc have started. So I think, maybe if some sort of a time skip happens, and if what I'm thinking about is happening, because I will just give you like the basic script of what I'm thinking is going to happen, is that All Might himself, after he turns his back on UA, he will probably like train with Stain or something, and I'm just like thinking about it, it will be so freaking cool. Just think about it. All Might is not like, a Buffy type of, superpower person right now. He's just like a technical, sort of, I wouldn't say assassin, but more of like, a technical spy type of moves he will use, similar to like Jason Statham and Stain and all of that. So I think it'll be like really interesting if Stain like trains All Might to kind of like show him his move and all of that, and be able to fight in his state, because we know All Might is like already too powerful with his own body. Like even if he hadn't One for All, even if he just have his own health, I think All Might is like super powerful. You can like compare his power to the USJ Nomu without his quirk. Like that's how powerful he is. He can like destroy a wall or something, and he can hold his own. So I think it'll be like really interesting to see that. Also, another theory is that All Might might like travel abroad, Japan, towards like Dave or something, and they might be able to create the device and restore All Might's health or something. Maybe Eri will help with that, but I feel like All Might is kind of like leaving UA now because he doesn't like feel he can be of any help, maybe. Or maybe like he and Stain have some sort of a secret plan going on. That's the theory if All Might is the real All Might that we are seeing. If he turns out to be Toga, that's a different story that I will be telling you right now. Think about it. All Might, like let's say All Might is Toga, or All Might is an imposter, like, twice or something like that. He will turn into UA and he will get in. Probably people wouldn't like, think of him as anyone else. Maybe the security will be like, oh, All Might, please enter, or something like this. They might like have a little tight or like light security system. Maybe Toga will be able to awaken her quirk so that she can like survive that time limit, so that All Might will stay, like they will think he's All Might, so they will let him in. And after he turns in, he will like transform into like Gigantomachia or something and destroy the whole UA, opening, some sort of a way to UA so that the League of Villains can attack them there. Because if you think about it, the whole big walls system that the UA built in and the Principal Nezu built in was like one of his specialty to, withstand Gigantomachia. So if Gigantomachia like turns inside after Toga transforms into him, then she can like destroy the walls of UA and let the League of Villains comes in. So you might be saying right now, how the hell is this going to happen? Like, we know Toga like ran away and we don't know where she is. Well, let's think about it like this. What if Toga turned back to the League of Villains and they told her like about the plan? Maybe All For One told her, okay, here's some blood of Gigantomachia after like they broke out of the prison. Maybe something like this. And they give her like a cup or two of Gigantomachia. And maybe like, not Stain, but like someone else have captured All Might, or maybe like took some of his blood. We don't know. And then, she transformed into All Might first, and after she got into UA, she transformed to Gigantomachia and basically bust out the whole school, and the League of Villains enter, and the whole war arc starts there. That could be like a really interesting thing, and I feel like this special move has a lot of potential, just like because of the destruction that's going to happen. It will also be a payback for the heroes after they destroyed the hospital and kind of like injured a lot of the villains in there. So if Horikoshi decided to go with the dangerous side, I think he'll be doing something like this. Another cool theory to think about is that the League of Villains, the chapter will turn to the League of Villains and kind of like show where they are, because we kind of saw like the flashback of Toga, the flashback of Dabi, and all of that, so that we'll be able to see the League of Villains side. Kind of like in the manga of My Hero Academia, where they focus a lot on the heroes, and after that they go back to the villains and show them what they are doing, what's going on and all of that. So I think that'll be like really interesting to see. So yeah, that's all the theories I've got for now. I hope you guys have enjoyed them. Now let's talk about the sudden break that occurred. So basically the news came in and Horikoshi sensei have taken a sudden break, or because he won't like be able to publish the chapter tomorrow, because we all know they have like some sort of a deadline they have to meet, and if they don't, they either take a break or something like that. How does this happen? Sometimes it's basically the author's poor health, like he might be a bit tired or something like this, so he doesn't want to risk his health too much, so he asks for a break before like the deadline and all of that, because they have a manuscript to show to the editor and all of that to check if this is alright to be published and all of that. So I think that's like one of the things that could have happened. Another thing that could have happened is that they couldn't like finish the chapter on time, so they took a sudden break to not like risk it or something, or so that the chapter doesn't look a bit too wacky or something. Because if you think about it, it's not like the author have the story like fully written and he just like draw it. Sometimes the author might apply some changes into it. Sometimes he want to add some elements here and there, or sometimes the drawings just like won't be completed in the same time, because each panel takes hours to complete. Even though he have assistants, even though he gets some help from his assistants, it's not like easy to finish the whole chapter in like 1 week. It's actually like it takes a really high risk and a lot of work. So I really appreciate it that he's taking a break, and I feel like the next chapter will be like full packed of action and all of that. So I hope you guys will stick around for that time. Feel free to follow me on Twitter. I will be posting the full summary of the chapters when they come out, and I'll also be posting some news about them, so feel free to follow me there. Also, if you haven't watched Primal Might vs. Primal for One, it's a fully written movie by me that have over 200 animators that have contributed in it, so feel free to check out part 1. I will pin down the comments so that you can see it. It's definitely like one of the best projects, if not the best project that I'm working on right now, so feel free to check it out, and link in the description. And don't forget to turn on the subtitles because it's in Japanese. And I have been the Manga Viewer, and I will see you all next time.